morning you're going to just feel into your hands and just feel across the base of the hands from the thumb, across the palm, the base of each of your fingers. And if your attention is on one hand, then bring it to the other hand, bringing your awareness across from your thumb, across the palm, the arch of your palm, each finger, the base of each finger, and just become aware of your wrist. And then from the wrist to the knuckle of each finger, then slowly bring your awareness, your weight through the wrist to the knuckle, to the tip of your finger, and let's start at the thumb and just work our awareness outwards. And then go to the index finger, bringing your weight through the palm, through the knuckle of the index finger to the tip of the finger. And then slowly from the index finger, or connecting from the wrist through the index finger, and just feel the connection of your weight. And that might mean that you're tilting your weight slightly forward and backwards, whatever way it is for you to connect in with the whole of the palm of the hand. It's a part of the body that we seldom take the time to really understand and organize. And then we're going to go with the ring finger, slowly from the wrist, across the palm, to the knuckle, all the way to the tip of that finger. And just notice your breath as you do this. Be gentle. The wrist is very delicate. It can feel sometimes very tender, especially first thing in the morning. And then the little finger, and extending all the way to the knuckle of the little finger from the wrist. And it's like you're creating all these diagonal lines. And you want to bring your weight off the wrist for a moment and just give them a little bit of relief, and just notice if that was a lot for your wrist. And then you're just going to lift your thumb off the floor, and you can bring your bum back to your knees or your heels if it feels good, if it's less pressure. Lift your thumb up and just feel the connection from the wrist to the thumb. And then slowly begin to circle your thumb, keeping your hands on the floor, but slowly begin to circle your thumb, and the other way. And then let's go to the next finger, lifting the finger off the floor. Feel the reach of that finger. Slowly circle one way and the other way. This is great if you have any signs of arthritis. And the other way. And then the middle finger, circle it one way and the other way. And you'll feel all the little ligaments of the wrist. And then the next finger, your ring finger, slowly one way and the other way. And then the little finger, lifting it up. Notice this can be a tender point. Try and keep the palm as flat into the floor rather than coming up. And circle one way and the other way. You might notice one hand is easier to do than the other. And then let that relax and bring your elbows down now so that the whole of the wrist can relax. And you're just going to slowly lift from the wrist all the way up. So everything comes up and it's just the base of the wrist connected to the floor. So fingers and palm up and slowly compress it down. And slowly fingers web up to the wrist and slowly down. Nice and gentle. Fanning through, it's kind of like moving through your spine, you're going bit by bit. Good. And then next you're going to do the opposite, and you're going to lift the elbows up and then lift the wrist up, but keep the base of the fingers on the ground, and then slowly reverse down to the elbows. So the forearm is planted and you're lifting the elbows, lifting the wrist, but just keeping the base of the fingers. And slowly come down. And on your next one, as you lift the elbows, you're going to keep the whole of the palm flat, spread through the fingers, and come back up onto all fours. And we're just going to slowly bring our weight forwards and slowly backwards. And really slow, because we're being mindful of our wrist. And just going slow. And you want your inner elbows to face each other. So don't hyperextend your elbows forward. Try and turn your elbows so the bony bit of your elbow faces outwards and the Soft inside is facing inwards towards each other. And now circle your weight nice and slow over one arm, slightly back, over the other arm and forward. And again, closing the eyes at this point is fine because you don't need to be watching. You can feel into the body. Feel what feels a little delicate, that you need to go a little bit slower, and change direction of your circle. Your elbows might feel a little stiff or need a click, that kind of feeling. That's all normal. But try and keep those inner elbows facing each other. Keep your index finger facing forwards as best you can, so you're aligning your wrist. And now bring yourself backwards again and forwards, and this time we go into the cat. So as you go backwards, just let the tailbone go upwards, dive through, and then open the chest forwards. And as you round backwards, round through with your back, your head looks to your knees. But as we do our cat movement, we're focused on the wrists. What happens is to the wrist as we go forwards and as we go backwards, as you curve through the arch of your back, how does that affect the arch of your wrist? Close your eyes. And if you want, bring your bum all the way to your heels, plant the elbows and come through your full cat, nice and slow. Feeling all of your spine as you feel all the way across the hand. Which hand do you notice most as you move? Good. And then the next time you come back, tuck your toes under and sit back on your heels, and let's just stretch out the base of the foot. And we're going to reach the hands back and reach the hands forward, drop the head. Reach the hands back, keep the chin into the chest, bring your shoulder blades back as if the elbows are going to touch, and then arms forward, one more. Reaching back, reaching forward, relax your toes. And then just bring your wrists into a fist and slowly circling in one direction towards each other and then away from each other. And then play the piano and let your fingers all dance. And then you're going to do thumb all the way to little finger out and all the way back in. Thumb to little finger, finger by finger coming in and out. And then start with the little finger out, all the way to the thumb, and then thumb all the way into the little finger. So try and isolate and notice. And then once more, turning, and then flick, 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 and then flick upwards, and then shake. And shake it low, and middle, and upper. And all the time we keep our head and our neck relaxed. And move them wherever feels good, and we're just getting all that circulation there. So we really like our feet, our wrists, we take them a lot for granted. And then interlace the fingers and bring them on a dance together. Up and down. And then change the interlace and then go again. And you'll hear a few clicks and cracks. Okay, so especially when there's high pressure, you can find the joints are a little achy. So, and then last wriggle, whatever way you want to move them, palm up, down, sides. Good, nice. And now let's come back and we're going to reach our hands forward, long back, plant the elbows to the forearm, and this time we're going to do our baby cat. So we're going to come through, we keep the elbows in the ground, and we're going to round back through the back. So it's a shorter distance, coming forwards and rounding back. And once more, coming forwards, rounding back, feel the whole plant of the hand, tuck the toes under, and you're going to hover with your knees. You're going to, rather than dropping the lower back, you're going to send your back towards the ceiling, so you're rounding over, your tailbones towards the ground, and you're going to lift one knee off the ground and bring it down, lift the other knee off the ground and bring it down. And now with both toes tucked under, if you can, transfer your weight to your forearm, drop your head, and we're going to lift both knees off the ground and just hover And if it feels good, you're going to bring your hips up to the sky. And then slowly straighten the legs, just if it feels organic. And then slowly bring the knees back down. Nice and slow. And enjoy the transfer of the weight that comes into the collarbone and the arms. And nice and slow. Inhale, round through the back. Bring your core muscles back towards your spine. Lift one knee, the other knee if you wish, or both. And come up, hips up. Enjoy the long legs, the weight into your forearms. And slowly coming down. And bring your bum back to your heels. Keep your toes tucked under if it feels good. Breathe in. If you get dizzy at any point, put your forehead on the ground. And rest there, or stack your fists and put your forehead on the ground. And if you feel ready, then you transfer your weight forward again so your heart is in between your forearms. And round your back. And bring your knees up. And this time bend one knee and then the other. And my head is off the floor. It's about a half an inch to an inch off the floor. And you're paddling through your knees. Last one, tippy toes and bending. And transfer the weight down, bum to heels and forehead on the ground. Lengthen your arms. You can relax the toes if they're tucked under, and rolling pin, rocking your body from one side to the other. Good. And then from there, you're just going to come up and you're going through the forearms again, baby cat, rounding back once more. Baby cat coming forward, so we're looking after our shoulders, our whole of our forearm, coming back. And one last time, tuck the toes under and slowly find the weight through the forearm first and make sure you're feeling really comfortable there. And then slowly knees up and just enjoy coming up onto your tippy toes, inverting and just feeling all of that for a few seconds. And slowly coming down. And as you do, really feel the transfer of the weight through the forearm. So you're trying to get more of the weight and effort through the forearm than the legs. And then last time, bum back. This time, stack your fists and rest your forehead on your hands. Breathe deep into your lower back. Good, and then release the hands and come up onto your baby cat, so your elbows are on the ground and your hips are above your knees. Take your right hand and scoop it under the bed, reaching under the bed. Bring your head to the floor. If it's too far away from you, bring a cushion and let your head rest on the side of the cushion. And why not? Use a prop when you have it. And reach the hand under and make sure your neck is comfortable. Close your eyes. And as much as possible, try and keep your hips, that they're not leaning to one side, that they're kind of in the center. The weight doesn't change too much between the knees as you lean. And keep leaning with that hand underneath. And if you preferred, you could have your bum to your heels and lean underneath if you don't want to have your hips in the air. Whatever feels good for you this morning. And then you're slowly going to press into the hand that's nearest to your face and bring one hand under, the one that was reaching away, bring it back under, and then reach it forward again. Keep your forehead on the ground or on your cushion, and then just lift your wrists and circle through your wrists. And play the piano with your fingers. And then either keeping your bum on your heels or your bum above your knees, reach the other hand under. reaching one hand, the other hand is in front of your face, pressing into the ground. And maybe you start with your hips in the air. And then maybe you bring your bum to your heels after a while, whatever feels nice for you. Keep the connection of the arm that's reaching. Think of that shoulder blade, the space between the spine to the shoulder blade as it reaches. How does this affect your lower back? And find comfort in it. And then slowly take that hand from underneath and reach it in front of you. Reach, reach, reach. And this time you're going to press your hands down and keep your elbows off the ground so that you feel a stretch of your armpit. You're even going to lift your wrists, but your fingers stay on the ground. So your wrists are lifted. Your forehead can touch the ground if you want. But the arms are lifting in a way that you feel the connection from the wrist to the armpit to the side body. And if there's any soreness, tenderness in the wrist, then don't go as high with your wrist. And then plant the wrist down and plant the whole arm, the length of the arm. And then let's come through our baby cat, onto our full cat, onto all fours. And let's circle again and just feel if the whole experience of your arms is a bit fuller now. If it feels more comfortable through the wrist and the fingers and the elbow, and go the other direction. And having done all that nice prep through the wrist, and the next time coming just forwards and backwards, the conveyor belt, not changing your back. And then the next time you go backwards, full cat, dropping in the middle, rounding back. And the next time you round, as you round, tuck the toes under, same as before, lift one knee, notice what happens to the hip, and drop, lift the other knee, and drop. And if it feels good, both knees up, and then go to front bent knees, just let your hips go high, tippy toes, and have 2 to 3 breaths. Notice your wrists connected into the floor, your palms. And then slowly let the knees bend forward. Keep the toes tucked under if you want. And slide your arms forward and rest with your forehead on the ground. And now you have your knees tucked under. You're going to do as before. You're going to press one hand into the floor, take the other hand, reach it under. And this time you have a little more height. You're going to be maybe twisting and looking, feeling that you can see the ceiling more easily. And slowly that arm comes back. And then go to the other side. Go straight to the other side, reaching. And keep reaching that arm underneath, away from you. Breathing into the shoulder blades as you do it, and then bring the arm back. And then toes are still tucked under if you've managed that. And then you come to your cat pose again. And as you come through it a second time, rounding through the back, keep the toes tucked under, and then slowly coming up onto the tippy toes again. So don't think about straightening the legs, think about the hips going high, and then if you want, let the heels come halfway between the floor and up, and bend one knee, nice and slow. And slowly transfer across and do the other leg, bend the knee. Feel the whole length of the back of the leg. And change. Slow. Think of your palm like your sole of your foot. You're going across the foot. Your fingers are like your toes. And last time, bend the other knee. And then both knees are straight. Hips go to the sky. Don't think about straightening the legs. Think about the hips to the sky. And then slowly let the knees come forward, and then bring the bum back, and then rest forward in hare pose, arms forward, and drop the forehead. If you wish, you can stack your fists and let your head rest on fists. That could feel nice. And then release the toes from being stretching out the fascia and just rock across the hips, ease out your lower back. Good. And then pad the hands up so that you come into a seated position and keep your chin into your chest. And just rounding over a little in the shoulders. Just notice any stretch in your spine. And then melt forwards again until the arms spread and reach down. So you're melting forwards, your arms are reaching, and your lower body is coming towards the ground. From this position, you're going to one last time come all the way up onto all fours, and this time we're going to go through our skipping rope movement where we drop the belly in the middle. Again, think about your wrists, the spread, the elbows into the shoulders, and then dropping through the pelvis. The belly is dropped like a hammock. You're going to swing your hips to one side, round up and over, and then to the other side, drop and come through the center. So you're bringing yourself to the side and up to the side and down. And just think of your spine as a skipping rope and your head independently moves, not trying to follow anything. Notice your fingers, your wrists. Are they contorting? Are they coming off the ground? Can you keep them flat? When do they flatten more? Usually when you arch away, they press down more. So as you round over, notice how the hands press. And change direction. Notice your knees. The placement of your weight through your knees reflects your wrists. That line from the shoulders down to the wrist is like your hips down into your knees. Close your eyes and go really slow for last 2 circuits. Unraveling the spine. Good. And then slowly edge your hips side to side to bring your bum back to your heels one last time, and reach the hands forward. And you're going to bring your elbows together and your fingers facing upwards, and just rest your head in the nook of your elbows. So you're sitting back, your knees can be together, or if you prefer them slightly wider, you can let that be, and let your forehead rest in your elbows. And as you breathe in here, think of the space in between your shoulder blades expanding and relaxing. Good, and then slowly let the hands reach away and press your hands into the ground in hare, nice and long. And you have the option of going back into that position or taking a little further. So coming up onto your elbows, and you can take your wrists, your elbows together like you just did, but your elbows are now further away from your hips. You can touch your hands together, bring your body backwards as wherever it'll go. Keep your elbows touching together, and then again rest your head in your elbows. So find what feels nice for you. So from the front it looks like this, they're touching and you're leaning back. As you do that, you're getting stretch the long muscles that connect from the arm into the back, into the spine. And it's like your hips are counterbalancing your arms. And for most people, this is a really satisfying stretch because it's part of the body we seldom get to stretch into or feel into, because you're not trying to overstretch or you're not even trying to stretch. You're just letting your weight tilt back while your elbows anchor you forwards. Last 2 breaths. And then slowly bring your arms forward and then just slide back until your chest rests on your thighs. Stack your fists and rest your forehead on your fists. Close the eyes, relax. And notice how your breath travels further down the spine now, that it's not located just in the shoulder blades, that you may be feeling it more curving down into the lower back. Good, well done. And then slowly bring yourself to turn onto your back from where you are, curl to one side and roll onto your back. Hug your knees into your chest. And with your hands on your knees, just let your knees slowly rock away from you. And then slowly pull the knees with your hands to bring them into your chest. Push the knees away. You're pushing the knees yourself so that there's not effort in the front of the hips. So just bringing the knees away from you until your arms are long, and then towards you until your elbows are bent. And the next time the knees are into the chest, hook them in. And let one knee go away from you, or both knees go away and towards, so circling them. And the other direction. Like the wrist circles we did earlier, thinking of doing the circles into the hips. And then side to side, across your back. Feel how the weight transfers from one side of your pelvis to the other. And then let one leg go, rested either long or bent away from you. And slowly circle. Circle the knee into the hip and the other direction. And then take that knee into your chest, bring it slightly across until the foot goes to the other side of your other leg, and just have a gentle twist. If you want, you can put a hand just above the knee, the lower end of your thigh, and if it feels good, you can look away from the twist. So your knee goes one way, your chest, your head goes the other. Breathe into your waist. And if there's any tightness in the lower back, you can always use one of your hands to just rub into that part of the back and just feel it soften. And then bring the knee back up into your chest, hug it in. And then slowly open it out like in tree pose and slide it long away from you. And rest, and just feel that leg from the hip down to the toes, and then from the shoulder on that side down to the toes. So I've really awakened major joints in the body and looked after them today. Because when we look after our wrist, we look after our shoulder. And then slowly the other leg goes out to the side, into the chest, and hug the knee in. Close the eyes. And slowly circle the knee within the hip joint. If you're being in automatic pilot at this stage, close the eyes and really feel what's happening inside as you move. Or relax your toes, you don't need to be pointing them or flexing them, just soften. And if it's clicky or sore or edgy, make the circle smaller and then change direction. Nice and slow. And then next time the knee comes into the chest, hug it in, bring it across until the foot of that leg comes to the other side of your body, and then hand can rest on the thigh, and then turn to balance the tilt of the knee. The head would look to the other side typically, but whatever feels good for you. Close the eyes. Breathe from your lower body all the way up to the ribs. Feel the space. And then slowly bring the knee back. Hug it into your chest. And then slowly let that knee drop outwards to the side and then slide it down away from you. Close the eyes, rest. Notice the line from the hip to the heel. And then notice the shoulder to the hip to the heel. And then notice both sides and see if you can get a feeling of balance between everything. And then slowly let one knee drop out to the side, come up, and the other knee come up, curl onto one side. And then coming up and curling onto one side, you're just going to bring one foot in front of you so that let's say the right knee and the foot of the right leg is coming in towards your center and your other leg is behind you, bent behind you. Bring your hands down to the ground and round through the back, and then circle forwards and feel how the hips, the pelvis moves. And in this case, with the right leg forward, the left hip is going to come away from the ground, and as you round, the left hip is going to come back to the ground. And we're just looking after the articulation of the pelvis. So the wrist and the shoulders and the pelvis, they all work in tandem. And so just giving that a bit of TLC. And then from here, we're going to come into a twist. So you're going to take your right hand to the side of you, and your other hand to your shoulder, and then you're slowly going to turn from the lower body to look all the way around. So this is like a mermaid position on a rock, and then my left hand is on my right shoulder and I'm twisting to look over my right shoulder. Maybe looking at your back foot, but not pushing it, wherever feels good. And feel how you're lengthening through the back pelvis, that left side of the pelvis, the psoas muscle. And then slowly coming back through the center. Just a little stretch. And then bring the legs up through the center and change side. So you're facing the other end of your mat. You've got the other knee in front, hands on the ground, anywhere in front of you, rounding back through the pelvis. Arching forwards. This time the right side of the pelvis is lifting and dropping. And then lastly, take your right hand onto your shoulder and slowly turn to twist to look over your left shoulder. Maybe even seeing your back foot. And maybe you like to come slowly back to center again and do it once more. So in order to twist, that same hip has to lift up slightly off the ground. So you're planted through your left hip and your right hip is kind of in the air. And then slowly come back to center. And then back to the middle. Both feet on the floor. That's it. And then just give yourself a bit of a wriggle. And come to sit. And everybody inhale up. And exhale down. And great practice today, everybody. Namaste. Hope you enjoyed awakening the hips, the shoulders and the wrists.